this computer. But yeah, you can go ahead and start at 10:30.
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to keep us company in the meantime. You have 1 minute to entertain us, Cody. Do you know how to juggle?
No, I can juggle 2 things. I can't juggle 3 though.
Is it still juggling if it's just 2? I feel like, I guess if you're doing the motion, yeah, it's okay. Let's make sure we get an announcement out too, just so that we start getting some people in here.
Are people going to join the Zoom call or?
No. They're already streaming. We got 34 people watching, so I think that's right. I think that's
awesome.
the right number. So maybe we can go ahead. If Ellie wants, she can introduce you as well.
Here is Cody. He is our IT helper for the computer science department at Wake Forest, and he is here to introduce you to some of the blockchain resources we have for you today.
Thanks, Ellie. So yeah, like Ellie said, my name is Cody Stevens. I'm a Linux systems administrator at Wake Forest University, and I am here to just give you guys an overview of the blockchain resources that we have available for you to use during the hackathon. Before I kind of dive into this, I just want to stress that, deploying your smart contracts to a blockchain network is completely optional. And it's not required as part of the rubric for scoring. But if you do get to this point and you actually want to try and deploy and run some of your functions on a blockchain network, you can follow some of these steps to hopefully try and test it out and go that extra mile. And again, not everyone on the team is going to have to go through this process. You're going to probably have 1 or 2 coders that are going to be interacting with your smart contracts and deploying them. So not everyone on the team has to be so concerned about getting this set up and installing the software. Really, whoever's going to be your heavy lifters for your coding. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So everyone should have this blockchain tracks quick start document. And so in here, there's a lot of helpful links. Talks about what I just did before about the rubric. But if you're going to start using some of the blockchain tools that we have configured, you're going to have to install some prerequisite software. First is we recommend you have Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code, it has a very nice marketplace app that's designed by Microsoft called Blockchain Development Kit for Ethereum. So once you download Visual Studio Code, you can follow this link. Once you download that, you can then access the extensions. And so if I go to my extensions, you can click that little gear icon and click here, or you can do Command Shift X or Control Shift X, and then that'll actually bring up the extensions tab, and you'll need to install these 3. So you'll need to install Blockchain Development Kit for Ethereum, and that, if you just install that one, it should automatically install Azure Account and Solidity for you as well. So those are the 3 that you're going to need. If I go back to the document, so once we have those, all right, then we're going to need some other prerequisites as well. So you're going to need Node.js 10.15 or higher, Git 2.10 or higher, Truffle 5.0, and then Ganache. So you can use Ganache to simulate a local blockchain network just on your laptop. And that is separate from the Azure blockchain resources that we have configured. So I'll show you, during this morning, I'll show you all those different little things and how you can interact with them. But one of the best ways to do it is just to create a Hello World smart contract. So we're going to go through connecting to your blockchain member. And then I recommend that everyone check out this tutorial here. Let me slide this out of the way. So this create and deploy smart contracts on Azure. So this talks about those same prerequisites. If you're on Windows, you might have some extra steps that you have to do. I'm on a Mac, so I won't go through these steps. But if you're on Windows, you might have to just run a couple extra commands. And this kind of goes through creating a smart contract, building it, deploying it. And then once you get to call a contract function, stop this tutorial and then just follow the instructions that are present in this quick start document. So yeah, so once you build, deploy, continue on with these steps. But I'm going to go through them now so that you guys have a reference. I already have everything installed. So the first step to actually connecting to your blockchain member is going to and signing into your Azure account. So every team inside your Discord channel, you should have some information for your Azure email, your Azure password, and those are the 2 bits of information that we need to actually sign in. So if I hit Command-Shift-P or View Command Palette, that brings up this nice command palette, and I can search for Azure and then sign in is what I want. This is going to open up my browser, and I can pick an account to sign in with. I'm going to choose Blockchain 01. So Team 01, you're going to be my guinea pig for this demo. Use that Azure password. This is terrible. Okay. So you guys get this? Just let me know. I can reset your account. Boom. All right. I'm now signed in. Can't be a live demo if there's not at least one hiccup. All right. So once you're signed in, you should see down here Azure and then that email address. If you left click, you'll see it'll bring up a list of subscriptions, and you'll want to make sure that you have the correct subscription checked in that checkbox. That subscription is also in the information that's pinned in your Discord channel. So check the box there and then click OK. And then once we're there, we can actually then connect to our blockchain network. So we want to do blockchain, connect to network. We want to select Azure Blockchain Service. And at this point, this is going to ask for your subscription. If you only have one checked, you're only going to have one here. So Team 01, your Blockchain 01, your resource group should be BC01. If you're on Team 2, it should be BC02. Then your consortium, we want Blockchain 01. Again, Team 2 is Blockchain 02, etc. And then once we're connected, we should see this little drop down that says Azure Blockchain Service. And then we see Blockchain 01. So this is our consortium. And then this is our member, WFU-BCU member. If you need to disconnect, you can just right click here and click disconnect. We're going to stay connected. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Solidarity project. So what we just did there, we basically went through, we signed in, we checked our subscription, we connected to our network, and then we're actually ready to start doing the tutorial. So we're going to create a new Solidarity project in Visual Studio Code. We can do that by getting the command panel up. We can say blockchain new Solidarity project. We want to create a new basic project. All right, and here I'm going to go to my root folder, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Azure Demo. And then I'm going to say this is my new project path. You can see down here it says create a new project, so we just have to wait a little bit. While we're waiting for this to configure, I just want to highlight that you guys can open blockchain tickets. If you guys have trouble connecting, you need help, you can also ping me at Cody S in the Discord channel. We should also have a representative from Microsoft, Cale Teeter, and you can ping him with at Windozer. All right, so we have this Azure demo project now. And so under here, we have got a couple folders. We have contracts, migrations, we have this truffle config.js, which is going to be important later. So if we look under contracts, we should have this hello blockchain.solidity. So this is our smart contract. Okay. And so here, basically, it's like a Java class. We define, what our contract is. We have some variables and we have some functions. So send request, send response. And what these are, if you're familiar, with programming concepts, these are getters and setters. So sending a string, getting a string. And that string is going to be stored on our blockchain network. So right when we're here, we don't have to edit this at all. We can just go ahead and right click and we can say build contracts. Now, before I do that, if you've used Visual Studio Code before, if you click this, this X and this little like hazard symbol, this brings up your terminal. I'm going to select output, and then I'm going to make sure that I have Azure Blockchain set up right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and right click here, and I'm going to say build contracts, and it'll say building contracts. You see down here, this is using NPX, saying truffle compile, and it's going ahead and just trying to build this hello blockchain contract. So finish running command. So it compiled successfully. So that's basically us compiling our code. And now we want to go ahead and deploy it to our blockchain member that we have in Azure. So we can say deploy contracts. All right. And so now we have to choose, we've got to choose one of our members here. So there's development. You'll see this is 127.0.0.1. That means your local host. So that's saying your local computer. If you don't have if we didn't have a blockchain member in Azure to connect to, we could have, deployed it locally to our machine, but we do. So because we're connected to one here on the side, we can actually say, oh, we want to, talk to our member. All right. And so now we don't have a mnemonic for our, we don't have a mnemonic for this project. So we're going to say generate mnemonic. And I'm going to say Azure demo.env. And then for this where, I'm actually going to go ahead and put this in our project folder. So again, now it's running truffle migrate. And this is actually going to try and migrate our contract, our smart contract, to our blockchain member. And so now in our wallet, we don't have any Ether. So, our crypto coin, we don't have any Ether, but the cost of all of our transactions are just going to be set to 0 Ether. So we don't have to actually worry about having any of that. So we can see it says finish running command, deploy succeeded. So now it's deployed, and now we're actually able to try and interact with it. So the way that we do that, and to reiterate, so if you're going through these steps, we've deployed our smart contract, and now we're ready to call a contract function. Instead of following these steps, we're going to go back to our quick start document, and we're going to say, when you're ready to deploy, what we're going to do is generate the mnemonic. All right, so we deployed it. So we're going to look in our truffleconfig.js, and you're going to see that this information looks pretty similar, because before we deployed, we had 2 different options to choose from. We had a development, and we had our blockchain member. So we're going to use our terminal to actually connect to that blockchain member. So these commands are also in that document, but you'll want to do truffle console -- network space, and then copy and paste your blockchain member string here without the colon. Now I got an error here, or it should have gotten an error. Yeah, so I got an error. It says could not find suitable configuration file. So the reason for this is I'm just in my root directory. I'm not actually in my project folder. So you got to make sure that you're within your project folder before you actually run that command. All right, so if you see truffle and then your blockchain member with the caret, you're now on the truffle console. All right, and so now we can actually start calling our functions that were defined here in hello blockchain. So the first command that we're going to run is we're just going to call a get. So our string that's stored in our blockchain should be hello world by default. And so what this command is doing, it's saying, okay, if our contract is deployed, so if our contract's deployed, what is our string? So it's returning our string hello world. All right, it takes a little bit of a second. And then if we want to update that string to something different, we can go ahead and call our send request function. And I just changed that string to something real goofy. And so now this one's going to take a little while. So now the issue here is because I copy pasted, this tick mark is that tick mark doesn't match the other one, so that's why it didn't complete the string. So you might run into issues. They might seem scary. Usually they're pretty quick. All right, so this is actually it running the transaction and sending that new string to our blockchain member, which is pretty cool. So then if we scroll back up and we run our, get function again, we can see, oh, now we have an updated string. So now we can, send another request, to update the string again. That's going to post another transaction. That's going to update our ledger, in our blockchain member. And so that is, that's kind of the whole purpose of this kind of Hello blockchain smart contract. So, a good way to kind of think of it from a bare bones level is when you're writing your first functions, think about getters and setters. So how can I push information to my member? How can I store that information? And how can I get that information? So that's the key information that you want to look at with this Hello world. And so if we look back at our quick start document, we've basically gone through that first tutorial. So that's pretty much that entire first tutorial. And here we have two other tutorials that I think are also beneficial for you all to interact with. The first one is this Ethereum Pet Shop, your first stat. This one is strictly command line based. You don't need to use Visual Studio Code for this. And this uses a local Ganache deployment as opposed to an Azure blockchain member. But this will basically go through, it explains what the contract is, why it's setting up certain variables and doing this all for a pet adoption simulator using blockchain. The cool thing about this is that it uses Ganache. So Ganache, like our Azure blockchain member, it can, simulate an actual blockchain. So when you run it, you can just say quick start Ethereum. And this is going to create a simulated network just on your local computer. You can see its address is your local host, but 7545. And then you see this mnemonic, that is your actual wallet. That's your wallet phrase for 100 Ethereum that's running in this network. You can also connect to this through the blockchain network. You can just say blockchain connect to network. You can say local service. And then here, you don't want to say development, but our port number is not 845, it's 745. And so it's going to connect to local service, development, and then that's actually this Ganache instance that's running here, because that we had to just change our port number to 7545. So cool. You can also connect to Ganache through Visual Studio Code if you want to deploy there as opposed to the Azure service. But I'm not going to harp on this one too much. I do recommend that you guys walk through it if you need help gathering your ideas. This uses a web front, which if you use the truffle unbox pet shop command, it should put you all those web files that you need to actually, go through the entire tutorial and get this Pete's Pet Shop web page to pop up. The other thing I'm going to show you this morning is just how to connect to MetaMask. So this Ethereum Pet Shop tutorial also uses MetaMask. And this is another way to interact with your blockchain member without having to go through Visual Studio Code. So what this does is, instead of using Visual Studio Code as an IDE for your code, it actually uses something called remix.ethereum.org. It's a browser-based IDE. And so I'm just going to run through this really quickly to show you. So first thing we need is we need our endpoint address for our blockchain member. This information is also pasted into your Discord. So it's the really long web address looking thing. And so what we need to do is we need to first create a MetaMask account. So you can just go in your browser, you can search for MetaMask. You want to go ahead and install MetaMask for whatever your browser is. Let's say add to Chrome. All right, so now it's up. So now if you're doing the pet shop tutorial, you want to say, no, I already have a seed phrase. And what is that seed phrase? That seed phrase would be your mnemonic here. But because we're doing, we're following this, connecting to our Azure one, we want to go ahead and just create a new wallet. So here we're going to say, I agree. Create a password. I'm not going to store any Ethereum, so I don't mind really showing you any of this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. You want to copy this and paste it because it's going to ask you to actually put in all of these things. So I'm going to go ahead, do this very quickly. Cache, unveil. Fun little mini game, you know, de-stress. There you go. So once you put everything in correctly, you do all done, you can click exit. You see we got a wallet, we've got 0 Ethereum. We don't want to buy, we don't want to sell. What we do want to do though is we want to come down here to custom RPC. You can name your network whatever you want. We're going to say Azure. We're going to go ahead and copy our connection string, which again is posted in your Discord channel. We want to say here, chain ID. Basically, you want to just put whatever pops up. ETH0. Click save. All right, if you get that and you see Azure up the top, it means that we are now connected to our blockchain in Azure. So that's pretty much step one. That's the hardest part. So now we can go to remix.ethereum.org. All right, and so then under contracts, we can do new file. Or actually, I have one here. So I already have it. So this is simple.sol. Simple.sol, copy and paste our code in here. So you can see this is that same code. And then we'll want to click on the compile option and then the deploy. So over here is compile. I go ahead and select latest local version. It might take a while to compile. Okay, I am gonna actually go ahead and seems to be taking a little too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave new incognito window. I'm going to try in a new incognito window so it doesn't cache anything that I had previously. All right, contracts, new file. So yes. Latest local version. You might see this error about compile version. Seems a little scary. So just change to your latest local version. And another thing you can try is editing the syntax. So instead of caret, it's greater than or equal to. Probably not yet loaded. All right, so now we're compiled. So yeah, you might run into little hiccups there. So now we just got some warnings. It's no big deal. So now we can go ahead and click deploy. And what we want to do is we want to say injected Web3. Okay. So I don't think this is going to work because I'm in a new incognito window and I need to actually be in the one with MetaMask. We'll get there eventually. Okay. All right. Easy peasy that time. So we got it compiled. All right. Account. We want to do injected Web3. So when we click that, it is actually going to find our MetaMask account that we had before, which is good. So we want to say, yes, we want to connect it. So now MetaMask is going to handle all of our transactions. So we come down here, transactions recorded. Okay. Now we want to click deploy. Confirm. Might take a second. Okay. So now we got simple at blockchain. So what does this simple do? It really just has a number. All right. And then we can use a function called add to add to that number. And we can also get that number. So if I click get, it's going to pull. You can see our current number is 0. We want to add 5 to it. We'll click add 5. You see that we're running a transaction now. So MetaMask pops up and it says, do you want to confirm this transaction? It's going to cost 0 Ether because that's what we set our gas price to. So we click confirm. We want to wait a second while it's actually, updating our blockchain. And then we should get a notification from MetaMask that says transaction confirmed. Simple.add value. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and run get now. And so we can see now that our number is actually updated to 5. So we can go ahead and come in here. We can say 200, add. MetaMask asks us to confirm. We say yes. So now it says transaction simple.add pending down here at the bottom. We're good. So now if I run get, we can see our numbers now updated to 205. So again, these are just really simple. These are just very simple examples that kind of show you kind of the building blocks of, all right, how do I start writing my contracts and what kind of functions can I do? And so think about getters and setters. So adding is a setter, we're updating a value on our blockchain. Getting, we're returning that and seeing like what is our current value. And so we're about 3 minutes left in the presentation. That's all I wanted to go through with you all now. If you guys run into issues, just do not hesitate to open a ticket or to ping either me or Windozer. And so that's pretty much all I had. I hope you guys have a lot of fun this weekend. And I don't want you guys to get frustrated by trying to connect. So do not hesitate to reach out. That's it.
Cody, we do have one question.
Yeah.
Is there a link to the blockchain resources document you were referencing?
This one. So this one should be, so this should be pinned in each of the team's group chats as well. Should be a PDF that's downloadable.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
If anybody else has any other questions, we have a couple minutes. Make sure you go to the Discord to the speakers channel, the speakers category underneath information, and click on live streams, and you can ask questions in there for Cody. But thank you, Cody, for the great demo.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a question. Someone's typing.
Okay.
All right, so we have a question. Raul C says, Cody, how long did it take for you to learn this? And how do you recommend others go about learning the programs?
So I learned this basically just by running through these tutorials, which is why I highly recommend that, before you get started, go through them, read through them, and really the focus of the blockchain track is ideation over compilation. So think about how these examples, like I said, getters and setters, how do they update information on the blockchain, and how do we get that information? So start there. Try and write a simple program that just sets a value and then gets a value. And again, this connecting and running, deploying your contracts on the blockchain is not required. It's not a requirement of the rubric that you're going to be scored on. But I think that these examples just can help you organize your thoughts and see kind of how blockchain technology can be used to solve one of the 3 prompts that you've been given. But I did learn it just by going through these tutorials. That was really it.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everybody for attending this demo. So I'm going to stop the stream, and we will resume streaming at 1:30 with our second speaker session. So please be sure to attend then. Yep. Raul says thank you for your time, Cody. Thank you. All right.
Cool. I'm doing some